So does Valorant translate well to console? That's what we're going to be talking about here in this video. Yes, a little bit late because the beta came out for the console, 2-3 weeks ago at the time of recording this, I believe. But I wanted to take my time with it, really kind of, feel it out and give a little bit more of a thorough kind of answer. And again, this is kind of my thoughts and impressions personally. Everybody might have different thoughts and opinions, like always. Thoughts, opinions, impressions, reviews, they're all subjective, right? It's not necessarily objective, but I think a lot of people may agree with me on this, but maybe not as well. Listen, guys, if you guys do enjoy this one, consider leaving it a like. Really helps the channel. Subscribe for more. We do a variety of gaming content here on the channel, and I've enjoyed Valorant for quite some time. I haven't made a lot of content on Valorant. I'll be honest. I've streamed it, somewhat a decent amount, I guess. But content-wise, I covered it a little bit when it first came out on PC, and again, I haven't really done a lot with it content-wise, but I figured this is a beta for the console. We've been waiting for a console version for quite some time, and so I wanted to talk about that in a video. And let's be honest, things have been kind of dead in the gaming world as of the last couple of weeks anyways, so gives us something to discuss. So again, kind of prefacing this, right, as I just mentioned, I have played the PC version a decent amount. I'm not going to sit here and say that I've played thousands of hours, because I haven't, but I played a good amount. There's a lot of seasons I have missed, or episodes rather, but whenever, I kind of have waves where, when the game first came out, I played a bunch, and then I stopped playing for a little bit, and that's mostly just because I'm not a huge fan, I'll be honest, of keyboard and mouse, just because I'm not great at it, and I didn't, I grew up playing point-and-click games like Age of Empires and stuff like that, but beyond that, I was mostly, a controller player. And so this is the kind of video that I think is interesting, because as someone who does prefer a controller, but I'm not that bad at, keyboard and mouse, per se. I think I was like gold or something in ranked on PC, or maybe silver. I don't know. I can't remember. It's been a while. But as someone who's not, necessarily great at keyboard and mouse, I'm average, I would say. But, I prefer the controller. And this is, a game that obviously first came out on PC. It was kind of like I don't want to say a CSGO variant, but, obviously it has influence from CSGO, but it also has influence from other games, like Overwatch, where you have abilities, stuff like that as well. Anyways, all that to say, obviously, on PC, you can move your mouse a lot quicker than you can, the right stick on a controller. Additionally, obviously, depending how your keybinds are set up, even by default keybinds, it could be argued that it's a little bit quicker to hit your ability keys on something like Valorant. So then that's, again, begs the question, how does it translate over to controller? Well, obviously with controller, you're a little bit more limited with how many, keys you have. You don't have a whole keyboard. And obviously, there's, depending on what kind of mouse you have, there's at least 2 or 3 buttons on your mouse. Most people that play PC, they have like a couple side buttons on their mouse. Most gaming mice are going to have that. So you do have a couple extra options on your right hand as well. But on a controller, a little bit more limited, but at the same time, everything's in a little bit more closer proximity, in a sense, right? So if we actually go to the settings in Valorant, and I will also add, by the way, before we continue this, I've spent about 50 hours in the console version of Valorant at the time of recording this. So you can kind of get a little bit of an idea how much time I've spent in the game so far. And again, it is still in beta. It's pretty much the same game, but anyways, we'll talk about that a little bit more in a second. But if you go to the controls here, you can see I just have it on default personally. I kind of like the default. I might, mess around with it at some point, but I've just kind of been playing with that. And you can kind of see what, the keybinds would be, right? So obviously to focus, you're going to hold your L2. Fire, obviously, would be R2, just like any other FPS kind of style, game on controller. And the way this is set up is one ability is going to be tied to L1, the other ability is going to be tied to R1, which makes sense to me, and it also feels kind of natural because, again, coming off of games like, COD, let's say. Let's talk about Call of Duty. I know, Valorant players, Call of Duty players are, there's a little bit of like kind of crisscross between the two, but like you got the really hardcore COD players and really hardcore Valorant players, and maybe there's not as much, crossover, but I think a lot of Call of Duty players at least play Valorant. I just don't know if a lot of hardcore Valorant players play Call of Duty, if that makes sense. But my point being is that in Call of Duty, you know, you'd have your tactical grenades and you'd have your lethal grenades tied to the L1 and the R1. So again, this makes sense. And then your ultimate would be L1 plus R1, which again, in something like Destiny, that's going to be how you're going to activate your super, right? If you play Destiny, or again, I'm trying to kind of, you know, draw connections to other kind of FPS games and stuff, just to give you kind of an idea. Obviously, triangle is going to be your swap. If you hold triangle, it's going to be to equip your melee weapon. Ability number 3 is actually tied to circle. This is again just default. You can customize this as you see fit. Jump is X, right? It's pretty typical to like what you would expect, right? And then, you know, your crouch being like, you know, clicking down on the L3 and different things like that. And then, you know, you can just see kind of, you know, your comms and whatever, plant, diffuse, spike, all that is tied to your D-pad and to inspect your weapon. In the ADS, you're going to hold L2 and then click R3, which was a little bit weird to kind of figure out at first, because I actually didn't read the controls when I first played, and I was like, how do you ADS if I wanted to? So anyways, that's going to be kind of like the overview, right? You have obviously your buttons. You can kind of swap this out as you see fit. And whatnot, and then you got your aim. So again, I'm just kind of playing. Well, actually, no, I upped my aim sensitivity a little bit. I think, if I remember correctly, I think it was like 4 or 5 a default, or maybe it was 6. I don't remember. Anyways, I don't remember what the default was, but I have it as 6 regardless. I've debated putting it a little bit higher just so I can move a little bit quicker, and I still might kind of mess with that. Again, I'm just kind of going in on default and trying to figure out from there, you know, what I want to do. And once you get kind of comfortable with settings, you know, it's hard to kind of start messing with them. So that's kind of why I haven't tweaked that a lot. I like that you can really mess with the dead zones, right? Because the thing is, especially with the left stick, right? Well, this is obviously aim, so we have a movement section. So, you know, I'll get to the movement section in a second, but for running, right, the walk run threshold you can see right here, that's good because obviously you want to have that kind of ability to either run or walk, right? Shift walking, if you will, on PC. And so you want those dead zones to be set nice. I think they got a really good default. So again, I haven't really played with this. Maybe I'll play with it in the future a little bit more to tweak it. But this would be like if you don't push the left stick all the way up, you're not going to run. You're gonna kind of like slow walk, right? So then you're not alerting the enemies, because if you run, it shows your location on the map. You know, the enemies can hear you, whatever. You know what I mean? Not necessarily show your location on the map, but you know what I mean? The enemies can hear you in proximity is what I meant to say. So you don't always want to be running. So you want to be able to obviously alternate between running and walking, slow walking, and that's perfect. So again, with you know, being able to kind of adjust this being a setting that if you don't like how it's, you know, the threshold is set and how the movement dead zone is set, you can tweak that, which is really, really nice as well. And then you have a whole advanced section if you want to kind of tweak this as well. Just kind of like scroll through this. I'm not going to spend too much time kind of explaining that. Some people don't like vibration on. I've always kind of liked having it on in games. Most people, you know, a lot of people in competitive stuff will take the rumbles completely out of their controller entirely, but you can just turn it off in the settings here as well. And then you also have L2 and R2 button dead zone, which is interesting, at least on PS5. I don't know how it is on Xbox. I would assume it's the same, but yeah, actually it should be the same, because Xbox does have that with their controllers, where there's kind of it senses how far the button's pushed in. So anyways, so those are the controls, and again, I feel like, you know, it works very, very well for what it is on console. I think that it does translate very well to controller. I enjoy it quite a bit. And the other thing that I really, really do like also that I didn't yet mention is that if you have been playing on PC, everything that you have transfers over. So if you have, you know, obviously certain agents unlocked, that's going to transfer over. If you have certain skins that you've bought, so for example, you know, when the game first came out, I bought the Dragon Vandal, and that's all tied to your Riot account. So when you go onto the console version, you're gonna have everything that you bought, which is good, because if it wasn't like that, that would be horrible. And I think a lot of people would be pretty upset about that. I would be super upset about it, because the Vandal, I really like that Dragon Vandal, and I got a butterfly knife that I like to play with. It just has some really cool animations. If you know, you know, right? And I would have been, I would have been pretty upset if those things didn't translate over. So again, everything that you have from the PC version is tied to your account. So all that's going to be on the console version as well. And although it's called the console beta, I think it's just called the console beta because again, it's not like the full release of the console in the sense like not that you know, we don't have the full content available to us. Like we have ranked and everything at the time of recording this. It wasn't there at the very beginning of the beta, but I think a few weeks later, or whatever, 2, 3, 4 weeks later, they added it to it. And so we pretty much have everything excuse me, that you would want to have in the game. So again, it is in beta because they're still testing, you know, I guess the console servers, different things like that. But from my experience, it's ran pretty well. There's been a couple times where the servers had some hiccups, and I know it was the servers because, you know, my internet was running fine. It was perfect. My ping was good. But the servers were kind of a little bit janky at times, right? Like you would have a little bit of kind of stuttering. That doesn't happen very often, but it has happened a handful of times to me out of like the 50 hours I have played. When it has happened, it's been a little bit annoying. So I guess the servers are not 100% smooth as of right now, and that's why, you know, they're still calling it kind of beta, if you will. And it's also saying that there's a server issue at the top right corner of my screen. For me personally, I don't know if that's something that everybody has, but again, I've triple checked my internet, and on my end, everything's been good. But again, you know, for the most part, you know, 95% of the time, I would say the servers have been smooth. They've been, you know, pretty good, and whatnot. So it needs a little bit of tweaking, maybe a little bit of oil, you know, a little bit of greasing the servers a bit, if you will, to kind of smoothen things out. But that's kind of the whole purpose, right? That's why it's like a rollout kind of thing, right? Where they sent so many people console betas, codes. And they've been kind of sending more and more out as time has kind of went on. And eventually it's just going to open up to everybody. And again, if you don't know, Valorant is a free-to-play game, which has skins that cost your left kidney, basically. So that's how they make up for it, I guess. But that is my biggest complaint with Valorant, is probably the pricing of some of these bundles they're just astronomical, man. It's like $20 for one weapon skin, for example. It's crazy. I don't, that's like, again, that's the one thing I think is just crazy. It's too much. You know, but whatever, people are buying it, so they're gonna keep selling it at those prices. All that said, guys, like I said, from playing on PC, again, I'm not a PC pro, and coming over to console, does the game translate well? Does it feel like it's fluid on console? On a controller, does it feel like it again translates well and works well? I would say absolutely. If you are someone who enjoys using a controller, I think you are going to enjoy the console version of Valorant. If you've never tried Valorant, I would highly suggest it. It's a lot of fun if you like kind of round-based sort of games. If you're a Call of Duty player and you like kind of, you know, S&D, search and destroy, I'm sure you're gonna like this, especially if you like games with abilities and stuff. It's a really fun game. There's a lot of strategy to it. There's a lot of depth to it, in the sense that, you know, there's a high skill ceiling where you can really kind of hone in and increase your skill and really get better and better and better as time goes on. And it's one of those games that just has, you know, a very broad, I guess, kind of stroke, if you will, for you know, skill and you know how much you can really get good and improve at this game. So it's a lot of fun. I love the game, and I'm glad it's on console because I'm way better at controller than I am at keyboard and mouse. Listen, guys, if there's anything that I didn't discuss that you're wondering about this console version, or just about Valorant in general, let me know in the comment section below. I tried to just kind of, you know, give my thoughts and impressions, you know, after playing about 50 hours on console, and hopefully I did that, you know, sufficiently and to your liking. Again, if I didn't, let me know how it can improve the content in the future. And if you did enjoy this one, consider leaving a like and subscribe for more. And I hope to see you guys soon in another one. Tell them, my friends, game on, and thanks for watching. Hey you! What are you doing? Join the Skeleton Army! Do it today! Don't wait till tomorrow, because tomorrow might never come. The Earth is gonna fade, that's inevitable. The next second of your life's not even promised, so you better think about where you're going, and you might as well just join the Skeleton Army. Plus, we do kinda like you a little bit, so it'd be nice to see you around here. But if you don't want to, hey, your loss. See you later!